Sam Leavitt at LSU. Has a lot of hype around him. He was the #1 portal player. Was going to get that potential out of him. Tennessee's quarterback situation is interesting. He's experienced in Kalen DeBoer's system. What gives him an advantage is the guy's a 5-star talent. He's going to tap into that potential. All right, welcome everybody to Wyatt Zang's College Football Show. We're here for another episode, and we got some stuff to get into that I'm really looking forward to. We have a lot of spring ball stuff, some quarterback questions we're going to get into, and we're going to preview each Power 4 conference at the very end. So we got a lot to jump into. Like I said, transfer portal quarterbacks to watch in the spring. Which quarterbacks do we have our eye on in the portal that can make a big impact for their team? And then biggest spring questions. There's some questions around certain teams, certain programs in terms of maybe it's a new head coach, maybe it's a quarterback battle, a different position battle. I have a few things I'm going to jump into regarding spring ball, and then we are going to wrap up the show. So again, it's 3 segments, but they're going to be 3 solid segments. So make sure you guys subscribe. You can like the video. Get down in the comments. I love to get down in the comments. I do that with you guys back and forth, talk about college football, talk about whatever. I'll be in the comments throughout the week. And then make sure you guys follow us on social media. You can find us wherever you like. Twitter. We're on Twitter right now. We'll get to those other platforms eventually, but right now we're just on Twitter. So yeah, make sure you guys can get over there and, follow us. Again, content is there in shorter forms. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So with that being said, we can jump into, the show. Jump into the program here. I'm going to take a deep dive into some transfer portal quarterbacks. So the first one I wanted to dive into was Sam Leavitt at LSU. He's a quarterback that has a lot of hype around him. He was the #1 portal player. He's the #1 quarterback in the portal. Obviously, he's the #1 portal player. But Lane Kiffin reportedly spent $5 million to obtain Sam Leavitt. So he is already supposed to be a very high-touted quarterback, a very high-valued quarterback. My question is, can he do at LSU kind of what he did at Arizona State in 2024? When he led them to the playoff in 2024, he had a magical season at Arizona State. Can he do that at LSU? Because when you look at LSU, something that's been holding them back for ever since Jane Daniels was here in 2023 has been offense. Garrett Nussmeier, we know, was not the answer at LSU. They have Sam Leavitt coming in this year. They have Hussein Longstreet, I think he's a redshirt freshman. He'll play next year. But Sam Leavitt this upcoming year is going to be the guy. Well, I guess Hussein Longstreet would be 2 years. But Sam Leavitt this year is going to be the guy. And the question around him is, can he do what he did at Arizona State? Me personally, I think he's got the skill to replicate that season. He's got the receivers around. He's going to have weapons around him. It's LSU. He's going to have guys around him that can, not carry him or not carry the team, but there's guys around him that can do special things, that can help him in having a successful season. So when it comes to Sam Leavitt, he's a very solid quarterback. I think he's perfect for Lane Kiffin. I think when you look at Lane Kiffin's offense, what he did with Trinidad Chambliss and what he did with Austin Simmons, you see a guy like Sam Leavitt, and you think, wow, he's got to be perfect for this offense. I think he is. I think he's the perfect guy for this team, for this offense, and I think he's the perfect guy to get this team to the college football playoff. I think when I give out my early playoff predictions, I could have LSU as definitely a sleeper team that could crash the playoffs. I think that LSU is going to be a phenomenal team this year, but it all is going to kind of fall on what we get from Sam Leavitt. So in terms of LSU and Sam Leavitt, I think that he's going to succeed there. Okay, next is Brendan Sorsby at Texas Tech. Brendan Sorsby was former Cincinnati quarterback. He's now at Texas Tech. We all know this. But one of the things I really found that I liked about Brendan Sorsby is, number one, he's a dual threat quarterback. The guy is a dual threat quarterback, and you gotta love a good dual threat quarterback. Number 2 on this list that I have is he's got great potential. When you look at him, what he did at Cincinnati, mind you, it's not a program that is known for talent around the quarterback. Like, they didn't have a ton of talent around Brendan Sorsby. So when you look at what he's done at Cincinnati, and you look at his potential, he's going to tap into that potential. Like, Joey McGuire is going to get that potential out of him at Texas Tech, because Texas Tech was basically a quarterback away from a better season this past year. Baron Morton was the quarterback at Texas Tech this past year. I'm not saying he was bad at all, because I think Baron Morton was one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12, aside from, Sorsby or Levitt or, Devin Dampier. But I think he was a solid top 5 quarterback in the Big 12. But Texas Tech needed someone a little higher caliber to get a deeper playoff run, to do better things at the end of the season. And I really think that Brendan Sorsby is the guy that can get them there. I really do think so. He kind of reminds me of a Patrick Mahomes type. A lot of people, pro comp for him was Patrick Mahomes, and I would have to agree. Patrick Mahomes is a great comparison for Brendan Sorsby. And the funny thing is he's going to Texas Tech. That's the thing. He's going to take over at the school that Patrick Mahomes played at 8 years ago at this point. So I do think that when you look at, or I guess it would be almost 9 years ago for Patrick Mahomes, but I think when you look at Brendan Sorsby, you see talent, you see Patrick Mahomes level potential. So I think Brendan Sorsby is going to be a phenomenal player at Texas Tech. They should be the favorites to win the Big 12. They should make the college football playoff. So, like I said, those Texas Tech Red Raiders are going to be a very good team this year. All right, next I have Drew Mestemaker. Drew Mestemaker is a quarterback from North Texas to Oklahoma State. He transferred to Oklahoma State this past offseason, and I got to tell you, a lot of his teammates also followed him to Texas Tech. One of the most notable that followed him to Oklahoma State. Sorry, not Texas Tech. One of the most notable, teammates / coaching staff that followed him to Oklahoma State was Eric Morris. I guess you could say Drew Mestemaker followed Eric Morris to Oklahoma State, but also the running back for Oklahoma State, Caleb Hawkins. He's the new running back for them. He transferred from North Texas to Oklahoma State. So you have all these guys from Oklahoma or from North Texas going to Oklahoma State. So the question is North Texas's team good enough to compete at a Big 12 level? Because basically North Texas's whole team is going to Oklahoma State. It's kind of the reality of it. So is their team good enough? Is Texas Tech's team good enough North Texas's, I keep saying Texas Tech. Is North Texas's team good enough to compete at the highest level in college football? I think when you look at the competition they're going against, they're not going against Arkansas as their worst game on their schedule. And they're out in their best game is Georgia, Alabama, Texas. That's not their schedule. Their schedule is I don't have their schedule in front of me, but it's Texas Tech. It's Utah. It's Kansas. It's not anything that's out of reach. So I think when I look at Oklahoma State, he's a very talented player. It's a very talented, well-coached team. Honestly, I'm excited for this team. I've always wanted Oklahoma State to be a solid program, and I think that they can be. When you look at Drew Mestemaker and the other players that are coming, you see talent, you see potential, and I think that they're going to harness that potential. I think that team's going to be very good. I think Oklahoma State's going to be a phenomenal team this year, and that goes with saying Drew Mestemaker, I think, is going to have success. And then number 4 on this list is DJ Lagway. So DJ Lagway was the former Florida quarterback. He's newly at Baylor. One of the biggest questions surrounding DJ Lagway was whether or not all he needed was a fresh start. Because when you look at DJ Lagway, he was a very good quarterback at Florida. In terms of talent, a lot of people say statistically he wasn't good. And maybe some of the decisions he made in the passing game weren't the best. But when you look at his dual threat ability or his just arm talent and talent in general, he's got a ton of talent. So when I look at DJ Lagway, I see a quarterback that has untapped potential, similar to Brendan Sorsby that we just talked about, Drew Mestamaker. It's untapped potential. We don't know necessarily what he we haven't seen his ceiling. We know what his floor is. His floor is average. His floor is average. His ceiling, I think, can be elite. I think he could be an elite quarterback. Former 5-star. He went to Florida. He played a year as the main starter. And when I look at him, I see a guy that is going to go to Baylor. And he's going there with Dave Aranda. Dave Aranda is a coach that I personally loved. I've rooted for Dave Aranda. I pushed for him not to get fired this past season and seasons before that. I think Dave Aranda's got a lot of potential with this new upcoming Baylor team, adding DJ Lagway. So DJ Lagway going to Baylor is huge. I think it's going to pay off immensely. So I love this move. And I think that this is just the fresh start that DJ Lagway needed. DJ Lagway needed a fresh start. I think that this is the move that's going to give him that fresh start. I think it's exactly what he needed. It's almost like a match made in heaven. Now, originally he was going to go to Florida State. Florida State dropped the ball on that one. But he ended up at Baylor, and it's not the worst thing in the world. I think it could have been better for DJ Lagway. I think Baylor is a better option than Florida State for DJ Lagway in terms of fit. I think he fits better at Baylor than Florida State. I used to think the opposite, but I've kind of switched my thinking on that. When I look at Dave Aranda, I want to see Dave Aranda and DJ Lagway have success this year. All right, next is Darian Mensah at Miami. Now, he was at Duke. He's now at Miami. There was a lot of controversy that followed him to Miami. So when he was at Duke, he was originally actually at Tulane 2 years ago. He transferred to Duke this past year, played a season there. They won the ACC championship. They didn't make the playoff because they were 7-5 and somehow won the ACC championship. But they were a solid team. And then Miami. Carson Beck, they did their thing this year. Miami did, and Carson Beck left. Carson Beck moved on to the NFL. So what was left? What was left was a very good roster, but no quarterback. So Miami looked around, and they said, there's really no one left in the portal. Yeah, Ty Simpson doesn't look like he's staying in college. We're not going to be able to go after him. So what do? I don't think a quarterback is on our roster, so what do? That's the thought of a Miami coach, a Miami, representative. Miami fans even probably thought that way. Well, the answer was go out and pay the Duke quarterback $10 million, give him a free house, a free sponsorship, and go ahead and get his sister into the college as well for soccer. Let's just do all that. I'm sure he'll come after that. Well, he signed. He's going to Miami, and I'm not shocked. When you look at what he's done as a player at Duke and at Tulane, he had a lot of talent. He kind of carried the Duke team, if I'm going to be honest. I think he's going to excel at Miami. Like, aside from what I think about the NIL and that controversy, put that aside for a second and just think about what he can do at Duke. What he could do at Miami, coming from Duke. Like I said, Miami's definitely a fit for him. Miami has Malachi Toney returning. Malachi Toney's only going to be a sophomore. Mark Fletcher's coming back. He'll be a senior. So you have these players, these two quality offense, and there's other players coming back as well, and new guys they're bringing in. But you have this core of your team, core of your offense is left. Your playmaking wide receiver, your playmaking running back. And you add Darian Mensah, who's a playmaking dual-threat quarterback, I think that this is a match made in heaven. This is a perfect combo. It's a perfect, I guess it'd be a threesome. It's a perfect threesome. I think that Darian Mensah is going to have a lot of success at Miami. I think when you look at the way he led Duke, the potential he has, he's going to be an awesome quarterback. I really do think so. So give me Darian Mensah at number 5. And then number 6 is Byron Brown. Byron Brown was former USF. He's transferred to Auburn. I think when you look at Byron Brown and you look at his career at USF, he spent a few years at USF. He was a phenomenal quarterback at USF. He led that team. That team was nothing special in terms of talent other than Byron Brown. Byron Brown this past year had USF as a top 25 team. They were a very, well, I guess they didn't finish top 25. They didn't finish top 25, but I mean, in my book, they were a very good team. They were 9-3 or 8-4. I think 9-3. They finished outside the top 25, but they were inside the top 25. They were ranked all the way up to 18th at one point in the country. They took down Florida and they took down Boise State to start the season. And of course, then they lost to Miami, and we know what happened after that. But they were still a solid team this year. And Byron Brown was the reason. He had over 3,000 passing yards. He had over 1,000 rushing yards. He had over 4,500 total yards this year, which is just insane as a quarterback in college to only play 12 games and have 4,500 total yards. Just insane. And he had like close to 30 touchdowns, I'm pretty sure, too. So Byron Brown was a phenomenal player. He goes to Auburn. Auburn's a team that hasn't had a quality quarterback for a while. They've struggled with quarterbacks. That's been their main issue. Like, Peyton Thorne and Ashton Daniels, like those quarterbacks weren't the solution. Jackson Arnold, those three quarterbacks weren't the solution. The last 3 years have been shaky, and I think that's part of the reason that Hugh Freeze was fired. That's part of that reason, because he couldn't get quarterback figured out. If you don't have a quarterback figured out, guys like Cam Coleman can't have success. Now, Cam Coleman left. Cam Coleman, the former 5-star, is not there anymore at receiver. But this Auburn team still has weapons. But again, him pairing up with Alex Golesh. Alex Golesh is the former USF head coach. That's the reason he's going to Auburn. It's because his coach is there. But I think that pair is going to be absolutely incredible. Similar to the next quarterback we're going to jump into. And it's Rocco Becht. That's the next quarterback I want to jump into. These two quarterbacks I did back-to-back because they're very similar. Rocco Becht followed Matt Campbell, and Byron Brown followed Alex Golesh. Rocco Becht is at Penn State. He's the starter, former Iowa State quarterback. He followed his former head coach Matt Campbell there when he got the job. And I got to say, Rocco Becht is a winner, and Matt Campbell's a winner. Those two guys at Iowa State just won football games. They never had those 5 4-star rosters, but they just won football games. Like those guys, like Matt Campbell is just a winner. A lot of people looked at the hire, Penn State fans, and they said there was 2 different opinions when Matt Campbell was hired at Penn State, and I didn't get the second opinion. The first opinion was, wow, that's a great hire. It's an underrated hire. And I love that. I love that hire. That was my opinion. But the second opinion was, we don't need a Big 12 coach. Like, we need a guy that's proven. Matt Campbell is proven, man. He was in a lot of high-level coaching searches that a lot of people don't know about. Like, a lot of people look at Matt Campbell and say, well, he was just at Iowa State. It was like Toledo and then Iowa State. I'm telling you, there was coaching searches that there were NFL jobs that Matt Campbell was a front runner for and did not take, because he's a guy that likes to go to a school, lay his roots, and just try to grow that school. Like, I don't think he's leaving Penn State in the next 10 years. He might end his career at Penn State. That's how committed a guy that Matt Campbell is to a program. That guy is so committed to what he's doing, and he does not want to fail at a program. So if he ever has down seasons at Penn State, just know that guy is not going to accept that. He does not accept failure. And I know every coach in college football doesn't accept failure, but this guy shows it each and every week, each and every season. I absolutely love his attitude. But as for Rocco Becht, the quarterback, it kind of turned into a Matt Campbell segment. But as for the quarterback part of this, Rocco Becht is going to come in and fit seamlessly for Drew Aller, because I think Rocco Becht is, call me crazy, same talent wise, maybe better. Rocco Becht has proven it more than I think Drew Aller has. Like, when you look at what Rocco Becht has done, and yes, it's okay, he was not that great, 10-2, 10-3 seasons, 9-3 seasons, but he was at Iowa State. He didn't have weapons. When he gets weapons at Penn State, which I'm pretty sure, is it Katron Allen that's returning? No, I think both are. They have a running back that they're bringing in that is a very solid running back. They always are going to have good running game, like I said. They're always going to have good O-line. It's just, if they can get decent receivers, like, I'm not asking for all-stars. I'm asking, can you get decent receivers? Rocco Beck's going to have success. Like I said, Rocco Beck's a winner. He's not a loser. I've always been a Rocco Beck fan. Always been a Matt Campbell fan. So I'm excited to see what they can do there. So that's my quarterbacks, my transfer portal quarterbacks to keep an eye on in 2026. Again, going to be some phenomenal quarterbacks to keep an eye on. Those are some of them. List of 7 guys. Let's get into some spring ball questions. When I was putting this list together, this list of few questions here, I was really trying to go deep in some of them, and I found probably the 3 ones that I want to talk about. Now, we'll do some more next week. We'll probably do some more on the Monday show or next week or whatever, but I wanted to get into some of them now. And when you dive into some spring ball questions, we'll do that real quick. That's not what I was trying to say. Diving into some spring ball questions. When you look at the unknowns in college football in spring right now, a lot of the unknowns are, I got 3 here that we're going to go over. Number 1 is Tennessee's quarterback unknowns. Tennessee's quarterback situation is interesting because when you look at them as a team, they always have talent. They always have talented rosters. Tennessee, Josh Heupel have done a great job of that. But you look at their quarterback unknown, you have a 3-way quarterback battle. You have Ryan Staub, George McIntyre, and Faison Brandon. When you look at this, McIntyre is considered to have a slight inside track. I mean, he has 1 year of experience in Josh Heupel's offense and his system. So, George McIntyre looks to be the front runner. He has more experience in Josh Heupel's system, so I think looking at him, that's the front runner for this, quarterback battle. Like that's my front runner. And then, McIntyre, he has the knowledge in the system, but Faison Brandon, brings the arm talent and the accuracy. So McIntyre has experience, Brandon has the talent. So that's where I think that Ryan Staub falls short. Ryan Staub is not a top-tier level quarterback. He wasn't anything exceptional at Colorado. He was all right. He wasn't exceptional, though. He hasn't been at Tennessee for more than a few weeks. I guess at this point he's been there for like a month and a half. But when you look at Ryan Staub, he's not the highest level quarterback. So I think we're gonna have to X out Ryan Staub's name. I mean he could still win it, but I don't think he's gonna win it. I think the front runner is George McIntyre, and Faison Brandon is still a contender. But when I look at it, I really do like what those 2 quarterbacks have, George McIntyre and Faison Brandon. My front runner and my guy that I would pick is probably George McIntyre. That would be my guess of who they're going to go with. But I think if Faison Brandon wins it, it wouldn't be the biggest shocker in the world. But I think Tennessee, that's going to be their issue. That's going to be their make or break this season because last year they had Joey Aguilar. And the question was, okay, he's coming from Appalachian State. What are we going to get from him? Do we get a Nico Iamaleava style? Or do we get a style that's a little different? Do we get a not as high level style play from Joey Aguilar? But they got some pretty high level play from Joey Aguilar. Finished the year not as strong, but he started the year pretty strong. So I think if Tennessee can get this quarterback unknown figured out, that they'll be just right back into the mix of being a top team in college football. I don't think that there's any question about that. So I think that Tennessee, the questions are there, but I think the answers and solutions are also there. All right. Next I wanted to get to is the Kyle Whittingham, the whole Michigan fit. A lot of people have questions about Kyle Whittingham and Michigan. Now, I think that this combo is perfect for Kyle Whittingham and for Michigan. Also, one of the big keys here is I think Bryce Underwood's going to benefit greatly from this because, number 1, Kyle Whittingham's bringing in a actual designated quarterbacks coach for the first time in, I wrote down for the first time since 2023-2024 season. So for the first time, they're bringing in an actual quarterbacks coach it's been like 2.5 years. Finally, this is big because Bryce Underwood now has a new quarterbacks coach. The new quarterbacks coach name is Ty Dietmar. I'm sorry, Coy Dietmar. Got that confused. His name is, he's the quarterback's coach. It's Coy Dietmar. I think that's how you say it, Detmer. He's the nephew of Heisman winner Ty Detmer. So you have a guy that's been around quarterbacks his whole life. So I think that this is going to fit. It's going to benefit Bryce Underwood. So I think bringing in a quarterback's coach is exactly what Michigan needs, exactly what Bryce Underwood needs, exactly what Kyle Whittingham wanted to do here. He wanted to stabilize the program. And speaking of stabilize the program, I think that's what his job is in year one. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, expectations, 10-plus wins, college football playoff, no doubt this year. If you're a Michigan fan and that's your expectations, I would lower it slightly because I think that having high expectations is good. Don't get me wrong. But having unrealistic expectations can also be a thing. I think if you can rattle off 9 wins and just stabilize the program, like just stabilize the program. We don't need anything above and beyond expectation here. We just need you to just stabilize the program and get it under control. And, maybe beat Ohio State. That's obviously going to be in their book of roles. But, yeah, I would say that for Kyle Whittingham, I'm going to be interested to see what happens there. Okay. Next is Alabama's quarterback battle. I think Alabama's got an interesting quarterback battle going on. The candidates right now are redshirt junior Austin Mack. He's experienced in Kalen DeBoer's system. At Washington, now he's at Alabama. He's been with Kalen DeBoer his whole collegiate career. So that gives him a little bit of an advantage, I feel like. And redshirt freshman Keon Russell. What gives him an advantage is the guy's a 5-star talent. The guy has potential. He has untapped potential, 5-star talent potential. I think he's going to be phenomenal. So when I look at these two quarterbacks, I really see a fair and stable quarterback battle, but an important quarterback battle nonetheless. This is a very important quarterback battle. The current status as of March 10th, 2026, the current status, both are competing in spring practice right now. With DeBoer, Kalen DeBoer said they're light years ahead. I'm going to play a video for you in a second that is Kalen DeBoer recapping the quarterback battle right now. So I'm going to play that video for you, and then I'll see you guys on the other side. But yeah, this is what Kalen DeBoer had to say about the current quarterback battle at Alabama.
And you can tell that they've had a number of reps, from the last year under their belt. Playing with confidence, calling the play in the huddle with confidence. Both of them, light years of where they were ahead a year ago, obviously, and they should be. Love, the talent level as far as that's concerned is not a question. It's just a matter of them building the rapport with their skill around them. Making the throws when they're there, feeling the timing and trust. Just feeling comfortable in the pocket, and that just comes with time, feeling comfortable with your offensive line doing the job up front. So, like what they've done through 2 practices, created some good explosives on their end, good feel, working the mobility when they have to. That's part of football too. It forces scramble drills and things like that. When that does come up, that helps our defense as well. So I think they're really putting a lot of pressure on our defense. Our defense doing the same to them.
Okay, so like I said, Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, he had a lot to say about the quarterback battle. I mean, it wasn't as much as we expected, but he had some things to say, and I agree with him in the quarterback battle. I think that these two guys are pretty similar. They're very talented guys. They're very equal in terms of talent. I do think Keon Russell maybe is your stronger type quarterback, but I think Austin Mack's your more experienced. So you have your talent and untapped potential in Keon Russell. And then you have your proven, your proven experienced quarterback in Austin Mack. Which one are they going to go with? Well, I think the battle, Kalen DeBoer said the battle is, projected to go beyond spring into fall camp. So we're going to see this battle go probably through summer. End of summer, we'll see it probably conclude, kind of like Ohio State did with, Lincoln Kleinholtz and Julian Zang. You want to keep your guys on the roster, so you're going to extend the quarterback battle. Because if you stop the quarterback battle now, one of the guys is just going to be gone. He's just going to transfer. So you need to kind of let that battle go on for a few months and see what happens. Just let those guys work it out and see who becomes the better guy. I'm very interested to see where this quarterback battle goes. But again, it's all unknowns. It's all spring unknowns. So those are my 3 spring ball unknowns right now. Again, we'll probably do some more as the weeks go on. But yeah, that's my spring ball unknowns. Very excited about spring ball and college football. So we'll see where those unknowns go throughout the spring and into the summer/fall. One of the things that I didn't get to was conference previews. And we're going to do that real quickly here. We're already about 30-some minutes into the show. So I kind of want to get through this quicker. All right, conference previews. First up, we can start off with Alabama. I think Alabama, or I'm sorry, not Alabama. I don't have Alabama on this list. I don't even know why I said that. We're going to start off with Texas, is what I meant to say. So Texas is a team we're going to start off with. I got 4 teams here in the SEC. 4 teams I think can contend for the top of the SEC. Of course, Texas. I mean, Arch Manning enters spring practice as the Heisman favorite. They added Cam Coleman in the offseason, Hollywood Smothers at running back. Keeping Arch Manning is a big thing. Pairing those 3 together is absolutely crucial. So I think Texas is definitely got to be on this list. I think Texas is going to be an excellent team. So I think Texas is going to be one of my 4 contenders in the SEC. And then Georgia. Georgia's a team I think can contend in the SEC, obviously. I mean, they contend every single year in the SEC. They're trying to get a better pass rush, and I think that they will. I think they'll be able to, revise their pass rush here in the spring and summer heading into the season. They only had 20 sacks in 2025. So like I said, they're trying to get that going again. But one of the things I'm looking at is Gunnar Stockton's coming back for Georgia, and I think that's going to be key because when you look at Gunnar Stockton, what he's done, he hasn't done anything phenomenal this past year. Like, he was good. He was really good. He was a top 10 Heisman favorite, but I think he can be better. You can call me crazy, you can call me whatever, but I think Gunnar Stockton's going to get better this year, and if he gets better, I think Georgia's going to be better. So I think Georgia's a team that can, push for they're always going to be title contenders, but I think that they have another shot at the SEC and another shot at the SEC and another shot at the national title. I think they're going to be a phenomenal team. All right, Texas A&M, I threw them on this list because I think that they're an unknown. They are bringing in Isaiah Horton. They're mixing him with Mario Craver in the receiver room. That's a loaded receiver room. They always have a decent running back. And then, Marcel Reed's coming back. So what are we going to get from Marcel Reed? Well, that's where the question mark is. Do we get the same Marcel Reed from last year? And if so, I don't think that this team's going to be improved too much. They're probably going to be a 1-2 loss. They're probably going to be a 2-loss team if we get the same Marcel Reed we did last year. The SEC is only getting harder. So when I look at it, I see Texas Tech as an unknown. So I threw them on this list. And again, this is in no particular order. So it's not like Texas is 1 and Georgia's 2, A&M's 3. It's no particular order. There's some teams that maybe I could have even missed that would have been on this list. So again, Texas A&M's at 3 because I think they're a very unknown team. Number 4 is Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a team that I really like. I think Oklahoma's a really good team. When I look at, their season last year with what they did with John Mateer at quarterback, I think when you just look at them as a team, you see a lot of potential. And I think that they could be better than they were last year, and they were already like 10-2 last year. So they were a great team. They made the 9 seed, I believe, no, the 8 seed in the college football playoff this past year. So, I mean, if you can get better than that, that's a win. And I think Oklahoma is going to be better than that. So, after the college football playoff appearance, I think that they're going to make a deeper run in the playoff. First round exit this past year, I think you could see him win a playoff game or two. So I'm also very high on John Mateer. I mean, Oklahoma always has a top 10 defense, but I'm particularly high on John Mateer this year. I think he could win the Heisman. He'd be my dark horse pick. But yeah, I think John Mateer and Oklahoma are going to be a phenomenal team. So that's the SEC. I got a few other, ones to go over. I got 3 other conferences. We'll go over quickly these 3 conferences. The Big Ten. The Big Ten is a team that I'm looking out for. I think that the Big Ten is going to be a phenomenal team or a phenomenal league in terms of how top heavy that they have become. They used to be like mid. They used to have a bunch of mid teams like Washington, your Nebraskas, your Iowas, your Indianas, your Michigans. Those used to be like your mid tier, like your USCs. But now, it used to be like Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State. That used to be like for the first 2 years of the new Big Ten, that's what it kind of looked like. Well, now you have Indiana, you have Ohio State, you have Oregon, you have Michigan, you have USC, you have those top teams. I'm starting off with Indiana. I think Indiana, capping the Cinderella story of 2025, I think that they're going to definitely be a contender with Josh Hoover returning. I think Ohio State's a contender with, Julian Sand, Bo Jackson, Jeremiah Smith, all three of those guys returning on the offensive side of the ball. So I think they're going to be a contender in their league. I think Oregon, a deep quarterback room, Dante Moore coming in, Dylan Riola. Again, not both of them aren't going to be on the field at once, but Dante Moore coming back is big. So I think Oregon's going to be a contender this upcoming year. And then Michigan, in my opinion, is a contender with Kyle Whittingham. I think Bryce Underwood. And I said earlier that I don't think that they need to do more than just stabilize the program. I don't think they need to be a contender, but they could be a contender. So I think that they're definitely up there. And then USC is at my 5 spot with Jade Mayava. I mean, he's an early Heisman contender. The defense is hopefully going to be better under Gary Patterson this year. I think bringing in Gary Patterson is an excellent hire for USC. I think it's going to get them to be better this year than they were in past years on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to make a big improvement. So I'm very excited about that. And then ACC. We'll jump into the ACC and the Big 12 real quick. Miami is up there for me. They're a heavy favorites after adding Duke transfer quarterback Darian Mensah we talked about. The roster reached the 2025 title game this last year. So I think Darian Mensah is going to take over seamlessly for Carson Beck. I think that they're going to be a contender. And then SMU, we'll go over these real quick. I have SMU there. Kevin Jennings returns. I have Virginia there. Virginia's coming off of a 11-win season. I have Louisville there. Jeff Brom brings in Lincoln Kleinholtz from Ohio State as the quarterback. I think he's going to be a phenomenal pair. And Virginia Tech, I put Virginia Tech there. James Franklin, I mean, he's coming back as a head coach after getting fired from Penn State this past year. I really do like what he has there. Ethan Grunkemeyer is going to be his quarterback. So I think that's a perfect fit there. And then for the Big 12, I have Texas Tech as my number 1. That's kind of obvious. Brendan Sorsby's going to be there. I'm excited to see what they can do there. BYU, Bear Bachmeier, looks to rebuild. Or looks to build on a 3,000-yard freshman season. Running back L.J. Martin returns as an elite rusher. So I think he's going to be phenomenal. So that offense should keep its pace. Houston, year 2 under Willie Fritz. He brings high expectations. Connor Wigman, number 1 overall recruit. Connor Wigman and number 1 overall recruit Kyson Henderson. I'm not sure I think Connor Wigman's staying, but Keyshawn Henderson. Sorry, I said Kyson. Keyshawn Henderson, the Houston quarterback. He was the number 2 quarterback, I believe, behind Jared Curtis in this year's recruiting class. So I think he'll be the starter, probably be a phenomenal quarterback. Noah Fafita returns for his final year under Brent Brennan, who turned the program around in 2025 for Arizona. I think Noah Fafita is going to be a phenomenal quarterback. Arizona will be up there. And then last but not least is Utah with Morgan Scalley. He takes over for Kyle Whittingham. Quarterback Devin Dampier leads a roster. They kind of need an offensive line rebuild. I think they will. But I think, Morgan Scalley taking over for Kyle Whittingham it's going to take a year. But I still think that they could be a potential contender in this year's Big 12. All right, so that concludes my conference previews. Really quickly, I wanted to get those in. And that also concludes the show. I appreciate you guys for watching. Again, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Get down in the comments, as I'll be down there as well throughout the weeks. So yeah, make sure you guys follow us on social media at Wyatt Zang CFB on Twitter. And yeah, we'll see you guys back here Monday for another episode of Wyatt Zang's College Football Show. See you guys then. Have a great start to your weekend, and God bless.